The School for Good and Evil is based on the novels of the same name by Soman Chainini, which means there's a lot of material available right now for all new fans. Of course, we don't want to spoil the whole thing, but let's take a look at everything we can expect from the second movie. Since The School of Good and Evil was released back in October, people have been on the edge of their seats waiting for more news. We're in luck, because we have the original source material to tell us a little bit about what we can expect. The books have a very vast universe and a lot of extremely huge events that are yet to unfold, and we're very excited to see it on our screens. A second movie would most likely kickstart the start of a whole new franchise based on these books. Spoiler alert, it's not happily ever after just yet. The girls are returning to school, and so is all the danger. The first movie followed the first book pretty closely. Of course, some small changes are inevitable, but that means that the second movie will most likely follow the same pattern. This also means that the plot of the second book is pretty much set in stone, especially because it has a huge influence on future events in the series. The two girls do return home, but fortunately, or unfortunately, that's not the end of it, because Tedros is the one to send a message and call for Agatha, because, as the historian said, it was only the beginning. Agatha and Sophie return to Gavaldon, but things aren't the same as they remember them. We'll be seeing a new side of the two schools as things have been turned upside down. The School for Good is now just the School for Girls, because all the boys in the School for Good are forcibly expelled and have to attend the School of Evil. With things looking dire, it looks like it's up to the two girls to get to the bottom of things. We saw Sophie struggle with evil in the first movie and Agatha deal with her feelings for Tedros, which are two things that will definitely be returning. We can expect Sophie to go down the path of evil yet again, perhaps more sympathetically this time. It's because of the new headmaster of the School for Girls, Evelyn Sader, that Sophie feels like she belongs for the first time in her life. Evelyn was a former professor from the School of Evil who makes her return and first appearance in the second book. Evelyn's influence is not a good one, but for Sophie it seems like the right path. This does look bad for the friendship between the girls. Agatha has tried really hard to keep Sophie on the path of good because that's how she's always seen her best friend. They struggled with this in the first movie, but ultimately the true love's kiss won and Sophie saw the error of her ways. Unfortunately, it might not be so easy the second time around, especially when Agatha's time at the school is challenged. The second movie could very well end on its own cliffhanger that sets up the plot for an even darker third movie as we know it from the books. The friendship between the girls will most likely be put under a lot of pressure, especially as the synopsis for the second book reveals that Agatha secretly wishes she'd chosen a different happy ending with Prince Tedros. The bad feelings, already festered from the start, will give the movie a lot of dimensions and probably build a very strong ground for why things start to go wrong between the two longtime friends. If we follow the books, we'll also be seeing Sophie trying her hardest to keep Agatha away from Tedros. While it's not easy to tell if things are going to unfold the same way as in the books, it sounds pretty realistic that Tedros would beg Agatha for her help because the boys have been expelled from the School for Good. Something needs to bring the two girls back, and whether it's this or something else entirely, it'll surely end pretty badly. The book series isn't known for a typical fairy tale vibe, and we're super excited to see what kind of darker themes Netflix could explore with such a universe. We're also missing some more magical action from the two girls. After all, they just got these incredible powers and barely got to learn how they can change their lives because of everything that was going on around them. There's a lot of potential for both girls to explore what they can do and what kind of impact they can have on the world. Whether that's a good impact or a bad one is something we'll have to wait and see. We can also expect to see some familiar faces return to the movie. In the very end of the first movie, after we saw Tedros' arrow fly through the vortex, we also see the school's headmaster's dagger. And if we remember right, he was supposed to be gone. But in typical fantasy universes, people never stay gone for long. This opens the door for more interactions between Headmaster Raphael and Sophie, which we got a glimpse of in the first movie. Their dynamic is extremely interesting. It's very different from the relationship that Sophie and Evelyn have, yet they both seem to want the best for Sophie. It's going to be quite fun to see where the producers can take this, and perhaps we'll even get more shots of the incredibly talented Kit Young as the headmaster's younger self. We didn't get a lot of information about him and his twin brother, and hopefully that's something that's going to be expanded on in the second movie. Raphael and Evelyn will for sure be a huge part of Sophie's journey down the evil path. We're going to really start seeing those fairy tale elements be brought to life. It's something especially fitting since we have the typical fairy tale protagonists, Agatha and Tedros, along with their very own bad guy. The two schools have always taught how to play into these stereotypical roles, and while Agatha and Sophie denied these stereotypes in the first movie and even effectively effectively fought against them, it's clear that even they can't escape the destiny all fairy tales are doomed to. We can expect the flow of the movie to stay pretty much the same for the second movie, since the director Paul Feig is openly in love with the franchise and doesn't seem keen to hand over the reins. He said in an interview, once you build the world and you get to bring these characters to life on the screen, they become like family, you know? It sounds like the best way to proceed forwards, especially for older fans who have been very excited about this adaptation. Paul captures everything really well, and it's clear that he'll do an incredible job with the material from the rest of the books as well. Paul has publicly spoken about how much he'd love for this movie to be the start of a new franchise. That's the plan going forward. Just take the material of these books and hopefully make a franchise out of it. It's very obvious to us that a second movie is without a doubt already planned out, especially with the first movie ending on a cliffhanger. There are actually 6 whole books of material for the movies to choose from, so the only thing holding this movie series back would be the fans themselves or Netflix. All of the actors seem just as keen on returning to the set, especially since we actually have quite a few very important main characters, and it just wouldn't work without a lot of them. Of course, with there being so many important characters, it also means that everyone's schedule needs to be free for this work. None of the cast members seem to have obligations that are too big at the moment, so it shouldn't be too hard to pull off. Kit does have his own starring role in Shadow and Bone, but we're thinking Netflix can manage to separate these two projects. Sophia Wylie's work with Disney is also pretty continuous, but perhaps Disney can let her have a few months free for her very own project. We're also expecting some new actors to set foot on set because of several characters that we're yet to be introduced to. The filming might take a while to start as well, since Netflix movies aren't really known for their fast production time. Most movies on the platform usually have a good 2 years between movies in a series, so we shouldn't expect the release date for the second movie to be anywhere before 2024. Therefore, they might start filming in the fall of 2023 to make sure that they have enough time for everything as well, to give the actors enough time to clear their schedules. There hasn't been news of renewal from Netflix's side, and while some people are slightly worried because of a few bad reviews from critics, it's very likely that we'll be seeing a second movie. Because it's a book adaptation, it means that there are a lot of fans out there who have been excited about this movie. And with all the new viewers, it adds up to a lot of people wanting more. The movie had a great release time as well, since magical twisted movies during October, they can only be promising, right? A second movie would most likely have a similar release time, especially since it introduces some darker themes and a lot more evil. Here's a fun fact for you. It takes over a month for Netflix to determine exactly how well a movie did. So, if you're a fan of The School of Good and Evil, there is still time for you to give the movie a rewatch if you want to see more. Get that popcorn ready. You know you want to. So will you be tuning in for more of this upcoming franchise? And what are you most excited to see in a sequel? As always, do let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.